start the Barnabas ministry. And he said God had really burdened his heart to be a help to struggling churches or struggling pastors. And he sent us a letter. He's just done his first missions trip. And he sent a letter, and it just said that he's talking about the different churches. He went to a church in Illinois, and he said that they stayed there on Saturday night, said Sunday morning they were at Harvest Baptist Church, and said they presented their ministry there, and said after that they had some fellowship, and they went from Illinois into Iowa. And from Iowa, they went to Nebraska, and they planted a church there called Freedom Baptist Church a few years ago. This was Bethel that planted this church. And right now, the pastor has stepped down, and they're searching for pastors. But he was able to go and have VBS there, him, and there was a team come from their church. And said that it was really an encouragement. Said they had 20 kids show up every night, and we're talking about a really small town. And then he says, I heard about a church in Kansas that was having very serious issues, and was able to contact them to see if we could do anything to help them. And it says that they asked him to come on Sunday morning and preach, and he did. And he said that the church in Kansas had to remove their pastor and had recently done so. And he said, I just tried to point him to Jesus who could help in that time of trouble. And he said that morning the former pastor's wife came to the service, and she was broken and troubled. He said he got to spend some time with her and pray with her. And he said it was just so sad to see how sin can destroy in a moment what it's took years to build. And then he went to Colby, Kansas, and preached and presented his ministry. Let me find this other one here. He said on July 19th they traveled over an hour to Lexington, Nebraska to visit the First Baptist Church of Lexington. Said Pastor Bowling and his wife Amanda were such a blessing to us, and he asked him to take the Sunday school time to explain the Barnabas ministry. So, and he said he gave him the privilege to preach as well. And he said afterwards they wanted to ask him a few more questions about the ministry. And he had been pastoring there for 10 years, and said when he came to the church there was 4 people attending that church, and it's growing and having more and more there. And he said I went there to help him, but he actually helped me. But I've got him. I'm hoping he'll come. I just think that is such an interesting ministry, and I love that he calls it the Barnabas ministry. We talked about Barnabas and how that what a help that he was, and you can see just from those 4 or 5 churches that he's listed on there, they all needed somebody to come by and help them. And I appreciate him doing that. He left a pretty comfortable position pastoring down there at Bethel, and now he is, him and his wife are traveling the country. And he called me the other day to talk to me about Brother Jake, and he said, preacher, he said, I know right now that I'm in God's will greater than I probably ever have been in my life. He said, just watching him bless. So now you be praying about Brother Donnie. He'll be coming before long and presenting that Barnabas ministry to us. And I think he said probably September or October he'd be free to come up. But remember them, they're going back out on the field next week. And they're going back to Nebraska. I think Brother Jake and Sister Abby's meeting up with him out there and everything. So let's remember them. All right, if you have your Bibles with you tonight, turn with us to the book of Acts, chapter number 9. Acts chapter number 9. We'll finish this chapter up tonight with the help of the Lord, and hopefully it'll be something that'll be a help to you. I stopped last week at verse 31 or 32, and I wanted to take my time with these last 9 or 10 verses here and just try to look at Peter once again. We'll see Peter over the next 3 chapters, and Paul's kind of stepped back off the scene right here, but we see that Peter is still doing the work of God, and God's still using him in a mighty way. And I noticed something, and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but I noticed something about Peter is I wish I was more like him, and I hope I can pattern my life to be more like him. Everything that he done and everything that God done through him, he made sure that everybody around knew that it was God. Right. It wasn't him. Right. And, we've got a lot of people today that, they're a church builder, or they've done this or they've done that, and I don't agree with that. Anything that's good that's come from this church while I've been here has come from God. And, a lot of times people want to put credit on themselves or on how they do things or on a program. And the fact of the matter is, if you can get people to buy in and sell out, buy into God and sell out self, it's amazing what the Lord will do. And let's look right here in verse number 32, chapter 9. And it came to pass, as Peter passed throughout all quarters, he came down to the saints which dwelt at Lydda. And there he found a certain man named Aeneas, which had kept his bed 8 years and was sick of the palsy. So we can read them 2 verses and we know what's getting ready to happen. Just think about that. I don't even have to read on, which I did, but I don't have to read on because I know what's fixing to happen. I know that Peter's fixing to walk up to this man who's been without a bed for 8 years, and he's going to tell him to take that bed up. I think he actually tells him to make his bed. And move on about his business. And that's pretty much what happens. Let's look right here. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. He didn't say, at my word. He didn't say that I done it, but he said, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Boy, I'm telling you what. You think about that just a minute. How many times, all of us that are sitting here tonight and we're saved by God's grace, aren't you glad that He come by and He made us whole? We're made whole through Him. He says, arise and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. He didn't wait around. He didn't lay there on his bed another day or two. He didn't say, well, I'm trying to get motivated to get up. I would, but I'm a little bashful. I hate to say anything. No, that wasn't what he done. He immediately rose up and made his bed and took off. Isn't that something to think about? How that God used that man and how He just touched him for no reason. There wasn't no begging. That man did not do one single thing to help himself. Right. Just like you couldn't do nothing to help yourself when you were sin sick. There's all kinds of things. I think about the programs that we have out there today, and I've got some good friends, and they have had trouble with alcohol, and they've been in programs and this, that, and the other. But it's amazing when they got saved by God's grace what it done for them. How it changed what they were. Changed them. There was something that took place. They couldn't do it. It wasn't about the program. This was about the Lord coming by. And I want to read that one more time. Verse 34, and Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise, take up thy bed, or make thy bed. And he arose immediately, and all that dwelt in Lydda and Saron saw him and turned to the Lord. Isn't that something? They saw what God done, and they turned to the Lord. Now, when you think about where he's going here, we'll get on down here just a second. We're going to see that he's going to Joppa, and I started looking at that, and Joppa's about 10 miles away from where he's at right now. And word began to spread that God had done some miraculous things and had changed the heart of the people. Joppa to me is very interesting because we all know the story. Who can tell me the story about Joppa? Who went to Joppa? Jonah. My goodness, we have to have Sunday school. Jonah went to Joppa. And why did he go to Joppa? Does anybody remember that? Why did he go?
It was opposite of Nineveh.
It was the opposite of Nineveh, and he was trying to get away from God.
Right.
And he went down to Joppa,
Yeah.
says. And then he found him a ship. He went down to the ship. Then he went down in the ship. He went down, down, and down.
Yeah. Right.
That's something we ought to think about every once in a while. You ain't ever going to get away from him. He's going to know right where you are. You know, it's something that I've thought about many years, and this is just some my philosophy, all right? Philology, however you want to put it. But I've thought about how Jonah, he run from God. He worked, or he got on the boat with mariners, marines, that knew everything about the ocean, everything about the boat. He got out there, God sent the storm. It was such a bad storm that it scared the mariners to death. And these people, they worshipped idols. They weren't Jews, they weren't Christians, they were people that worshipped a pagan god.
Right.
And when Jonah told them to throw him over, they threw him over. The fish come, the seas calmed. But there's something in there that I've always looked at. And I don't know why I'm getting off on this, but I am. But I noticed they threw over their wares. That was their food. That was everything they needed. There was no way they could go to where they was headed. So they had to turn back. And I just wonder, maybe, you don't have to agree with me because this is probably not right, but I just wonder if the mariners got back and they said, you wouldn't believe this. The Lord God of heaven was chastising one of His own. And the sea was crazy. Never seen anything like it. Scared us to death. And we just had to throw everything we had overboard. And when that man said it was me, and he threw himself in the ocean, this great fish come and it swallowed him up, and the seas calmed, we had to turn back. He's supposed to go to Nineveh, and he didn't listen to God. And then if you fast forward a few days from there, he walks into Nineveh, and what happens? Revival. Now, I've always thought that possibly word got to Nineveh before Jonah did. Maybe word got to him and said, God's sending somebody. God's sending somebody that's going to preach. He's sending judgment down, and you better repent. I don't know, but it's something to chew on. You know what? When we surrender ourselves to God, it will affect other people. You may be the one that suffers so others can see God. You say, that's not fair, preacher. It's not about being fair. It's just about how God does things. And you know what? He's good to us. He's good to the unjust. He's good to the just. It does not matter. We question Him sometimes. But now down in verse number 36, it says, Now there was at Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation was called Dorcas. For this woman was full of good works and alms deeds, which she did. And it came to pass in those days that she was sick and died. And when they had washed, they laid her in the upper chamber. For as much as Lydda was nigh to Joppa, the disciples heard that Peter was there, and they sent unto him 2 men, desiring him that he would not delay to come to them. Then Peter arose and went with them when he was come, they brought him into the upper chamber, and all the widows stood by him, weeping and chewing the coats and garments which Dorcas made while she was with them. Now, I thought this was pretty interesting. Word got out that Peter was doing that work that he was doing, and they said, we've got to, in Lydda, and he said, we've got to send, we've got to get a hold of Peter, because this was one of God's people that had died. This wasn't just a good person. This wasn't just a person that was faithful in giving. This was one of God's children that died. And we all know what the Bible says about precious in the eyes of the Lord is the death of His saints. So we know that. But we look at this lady, and I want to take just a few minutes here, and I want to look at the life of Tabitha. And Tabitha, it says that she was a woman that was full of good works and alms deeds. Those alms deeds were services, or it was a ministry of being good and helping people. I thought it was interesting that when you see everybody weeping around her when she had died, that she had made them garments. She had done things for them, and she had always showed how that everyone else was more special and more important. And this lady has passed away, and it has affected the whole town. The whole town's affected. They're all up there. Now, you have to go back and think, and in Israel, they couldn't leave a body but one day. You had one day to bury that body from the time that it passed away. But here in Joppa, they had 3 days. So I don't know how quick he got there. I'm sure it was inside of 3 days that he got there. But as he came up and he seen this woman, Tabitha, laying there, and somebody of good works now. That's bad things sometimes just happen to us. That's hard to accept. Talked about it a little bit Sunday night. Sometimes bad things just happen. She had died there, and in verse 39, when Peter arose and went with them, and when he was come, he was brought into the upper chamber, and all the widows stood by him weeping and chewing the coats and the garments which Dorcas had made while she was with them. So it was something, I've got stuff that the kids have made me that it don't get thrown away. It gets put in a special drawer. I've got a box full of stuff that the kids here at the church have made me. And I keep those things. And it's because I look at it like this. If they took the time to draw a stick man preaching, that meant they thought that much of me. And they gave it to me. And I ought to think that much of it, and I do. I do think a lot of it. But you think about this, sometimes if somebody just goes out of their way to do something nice for you. I mean, completely out of their way. This was the type of person that she was. And as everybody, you can imagine the scene as Peter walks up the steps and he comes into that upper chamber, and everybody's there, and they're weeping and crying and bawling, and just why? Why? Because that's what that brings, is all those things. And then Peter runs them out of the room. God used Tabitha, and He used her skills to affect other people. And what I'm getting by that is she was talented apparently in sewing, making things, and God used that in her to reach people. You remember when Moses was over there on the mountain with God, and the bush was on fire but it wouldn't burn, and he was having a conversation with the Lord, and the Lord asked him, He said, "What's in your hand?" You remember that? And he said, "A rod." And it became a serpent, remember? And then he said, and he took it by the tail, and it became a rod again. Well, it's interesting to me that how that God chose Moses to lead them out. That rod that Moses had was there because he was a shepherd. He was looking after his father-in-law's, all his animals. He was looking at, and they always carried that. And it was his job. And he was so used to that, having that in his hand. God took something that was familiar to him to show him whatever it is that's in your hand. Just because you work 8 hours, 12 hours a day, whatever it may be, does not mean that God does not give you a skill that you can use to win other people to the Lord. And that's what he was doing. That's what he done with Moses. He said, you got to trust me. Whatever I put in your hand can be used to glorify me. So whatever, hey, your testimonies, you've got a testimony. It might be at work. It might be at school. Hey, you've got an opportunity to use what God has given you and what you're good at. Some people have the gift of gab. Some people have the gift to be quiet. Some people have the gift to sing. Hey, it doesn't matter. But God, every single one of us has something that God has placed in our hands, that if we'll let Him, He will use it for His glory. What a great thing. I mean, when you think about it, Brother Matt gets to talk to a lot of people. He deals with a lot of people. Opportunity right there. Brother Nathan deals with a lot of people. Sees more people probably than he wants to. But he's got opportunity there. Brother James has got opportunity there. Sister Sloan's on the phone all the time, right? She's got opportunity there. So, I mean, we can think about all the things that we have and what God has entrusted us with. We might look at it as a drag, but maybe God's put us there so that we can be a help to other people. Look what happened here. She affected that whole town by good deeds. You know what they say? No good deed goes unpunished. That's what everybody likes to say, isn't it? You do something and then it ends up costing you. You try to help. That ain't how it works with God. God gives us something to do. We ought to go do it, and we ought to do it with the right. Well, God told me to make you this coat. I hope you like it. That ain't no good. I mean, that makes you feel real special, don't it? Yeah, God told me to make this for you here. No, it's showing an act of kindness and love, and it's not about the material thing. I believe these ladies, as they stood there, I mean, they were mourning because she showed them. It wasn't about the things that she had. It was about the person that she was and how that she showed them how much she loved them, and the love of God was in her. In this day that we're living in, we need to have people that have the love of God in their hearts. We need to share the love of God like we never have before. What a great picture. The first church, what did they do? They shared the love of God. I mean, we see some things that's happened here. And we see where Peter talked to this man up here. And what happened? He told him, he said, make your bed and get up. Jesus Christ has touched you. And he did. And he got up and he left. But what happened? They seen God do that work. And look what happened. They turned to the Lord. When people see God move, even the most cynical person, when they actually see God move, because sometimes you can't explain it away. It's just God. And when you can't explain it away, even that cynical person will look at it and say, you know what? It had to be. You know, I've thought many times, that day me and Nate was trying to keep the floodwaters out of the church here. It's always amazed me how the water didn't come in here, but it went in over there. There's not an explanation. It's God. I mean, and I'm not making a small thing out of that when I say just God, but that's the only explanation I have. It's just God. And you know what? He still does things like that at a rapid pace. And a lot of people want to sell it to luck. I don't believe in luck. I do believe in the grace and the mercies of God. Let's look here what happened with Peter, though. In verse number 40, it says, but Peter put them all forth and kneeled down and prayed. Now, I think it would service us all to have a quiet time of private prayer life. Peter didn't want onlookers. If you want to testify so somebody will brag on you and tell you what a good testimony it was, that's the wrong reason to testify.
Right. Amen.
If you want to pray real loud in a restaurant, have everybody look at you, that's fine. But you better be doing it because that's just how God's got it in your heart. Oh, look at me. Oh, I can't eat today, I'm fasting. You just blew it, is what you done. That's not how that works. It is a private relationship between you and God, and no one else needs to know about it. You don't need to be bragging about it. You don't need to be saying, oh, look how spiritual that I am. We just need to be calling on God, showing that love that we have. He knelt down here in his private prayer time. And he started to pray for this lady. I don't know how long he prayed, the Bible don't say. But whenever he got done praying, he turned to Tabitha. And he said, Tabitha, arise. What I've noticed is if you can get quiet time alone with God and get a hold of God, you'd be amazed at the boldness that it gives you on spiritual matters. Peter said, Tabitha, arise. Dead body there. Hadn't moved in at least a day, maybe 2 days. This could be the 3rd day. We don't know. No, it wasn't no more than 3. But no, it's at least 1. Turned to her and he told her to arise, and she opened her eyes. And when she saw Peter, she sat up. And he gave her his hand and he lifted her up. Now, he could have said, no, you just lay right here and be easy. You've been through a lot. Go get the newspapers. Go get the media and tell them to come. Well, we've got a miracle. That wasn't what Peter done. Stuck out his hand. And when he got done, he called the saints and the widows. And I love these 3 words. Presented her alive. I'm glad that I have been presented alive to the Father. I was dead in my... I was Tabitha. I was dead in my sins and in my trespasses. But God come by where I was for no reason. And He presented me alive. Boy, I'm glad that I reached for His hand when He reached for mine. She didn't have to, but she did, didn't she? And look what happened. He presented her alive, and look, and it was known throughout all Joppa. And many believed on the Lord. Hey, if something good happens here, it don't need to stay in the 4 walls here. I'll say that again. When something good happens here, it don't need to stay here. It needs to go out and say, hey, God done this. God saved Brother Paul. God's done this work. Hey, that ought to get out and say, hey, my God's alive and He's well and He's performing miracles and He's still on the throne and He still loves His children and He still takes care of His own. So many times we want to just... We'll tell bad news before we'll ever tell good news. Gossip. You ever notice people like to tell bad news?
Yes, sir.
Oh, did you hear? Bless their hearts. Yeah, I heard we had 3 saved on there. Oh, really? That's good. Yeah. We got excited about that. Just about got over ourselves, didn't we? No. But we love to tell bad news. Love to be the first one. Did you hear? That's, unfortunately, being a pastor, you get to see people at the highest and at the lowest. You see people hurt, you see people happy. We ought to look at that and say, guess what God is doing? Guess what? Why? Because it might just entice someone else to want to come. Brother Paul, I've had a lot of people comment on you to me and said I heard Brother Paul got saved. I said, yeah. He's coming to church faithfully. Growing hungry for the Lord. And you know what? It's spreading. And you know what I do? I hype you up. So don't disappoint. No, I do. I do. I say, look, he's doing great. I said, God done a work in him. God changed him. God made a new creature out of him. That's what God does when God comes in. You tell me you're a new creature and nothing's changed, I don't think God moved in. But if you've changed, God's moved in there. He's went through and He's cleaned house. He's got rid of some stuff. He's knocked the cobwebs out of the corners. Got rid of the stuff that didn't belong in there. And He has took up abode there. And it has an effect. And everybody around you should see the effect that it has. You shouldn't talk like you used to. You shouldn't. You shouldn't do the things you used to do. You shouldn't go to the places you used to go to. I'm telling you, when God does something different, people see it. People notice it. People talk about it. And many believe. We look at everything that happened from Acts 1 up through chapter 9, and you see what's happening in the church. And I mean, you don't hear anywhere in here about splits. You don't. You know why? Because they were in one accord. If they had a disagreement, they straightened it out. They went to the Word. They straightened it out. They believed. They had one mind. What was that one mind? Serve the Lord faithfully and to multiply His church. That's what they were there to do. See, we lost sight somewhere down the road. It was mentioned the other day to me. I was trying to remember who asked me. Asked me when I was going to get my face put up on a billboard. I said, for what? Oh, it was Jimmy Williams. That's who it was. If I'd have remembered that, I wouldn't even mentioned it. I said, what do you mean? He said, like all these other preachers are doing. I said, well, first of all, I'm going to have to get some more teeth if I'm going to do that. But second of all, why would I? Why? What am I? I ain't nothing. If God's doing something, it's His. He's doing it. It's all about Him. It's all about Him. Why in the world would you do that? It was all about Him and seeing people come to know the Christ. Verse 43 says, and it came to pass that he tarried many days in Joppa with one Simon the tanner. So he got to Joppa, and there's a little revival, little spark of revival had took place there. People was calling on God. People was looking to God. People's lives were changing. People's homes were changing. You know, Right now, the greatest thing for your home is for God to be the center of it.
Right.
It's always been that way. A God-centered home and a God-centered family will always produce positive things for God. We look at this lady as she suffered just like that man for 8 years. He suffered for the cause of Christ. 8 years he laid there, paralyzed. I mean, you think about it. He didn't have the things that we have now. He didn't have the electric wheelchair. Didn't have something to help him up and down with. Somebody had to take a hold of him and pick him up. Probably a lot of embarrassment. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can think about that just be so embarrassing. But when Peter walked by him that day, told him to make his bed, Jesus Christ had come by and made him whole. I just put a little note down here in my Bible. It says that you may suffer for someone else to see God. Sometimes you're going to go through things so people can see God in you like they've never seen Him before. And when they see Him in you, it changes them, just like He changed you. You look at the work that Peter has done here, and then we're going to get into chapter 10 next week, and we're going to look at some more on Peter. But isn't it a blessing to know, without even knowing, when you read a story and you see a story here in the Bible and you look down and you see someone that has been sick for 8 years, and then the next thing you see is Peter said. Isn't it good to know? Like I said, I knew what was going to happen before I read it. And it's the same way if you're here tonight and you're sin sick. You've never been saved by God's grace. You've never experienced what it is to be a child of God. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. And you could be presented alive. You're either dead in your trespasses and sins, or you're alive in Him. As you bow your heads tonight, I just feel led just to give an invitation. Nate, if you will, come and do that. Draw me near. I just kind of felt a little urge tonight to give an invitation. I know on Wednesday nights we usually don't do this, but maybe you're going through something. Let's just start right there. Maybe you're going through something right now, and you've asked God why you're going through it. And He's not answered you. Lord, why me? Well, maybe it's so your neighbor can see God. Maybe it's so your husband can see God. Your wife can see God. Your children can see God. The people you go to school with can see God. But maybe you'd say, I'm like old fella, it's 8 years. Been waiting. Jesus Christ wants to make you whole. He wants you to be presented alive. Oh, the look on the faces when He said, here she is, and she's alive and well. As He sings tonight, if you feel led to come, the altar's open. Lord, tonight.
Draw me near, casting out all the fear. Though I stumble,
Don't turn him away.
Lord, I pray.
You may not need salvation. Maybe you just need to come. Maybe you hadn't had that private time with God in a while.
Save me, Lord, cleanse and make me whole. The floods of sin have overflown my soul. I know that I'm unworthy, but your mercy's ever true. Here is all of me I give to you. Draw me near, draw me near, casting out all the fear. Though I stumble, Lord, I pray. When I stray, draw me near. When I stray, draw me near.
Amen.
Failing miserably, but I want to try to model myself after him the best I can. Anybody got a word on your heart? Anything you need to say or do before we turn you loose? Amen, sis. Amen.